Hello and welcome back to another episode of RC Icons. So in today's episode we're going to start the Super Sabre. Kit number 58066, released October 29th, 1987. Shortly after its predecessor, the Boomerang. So obviously this is part of the Hot Shot family, believe it or not. Same gearboxes, the chassis differed a little. But a lot of people consider it part of the Hot Shot family. So Hot Shot, Super Shot, Hot Shot 2, Boomerang, Big Wig, and Super Sabre. So the Super Sabre, I believe it was the last one that was produced, and it's never been reread to date. So people are screaming for it, and they think, or we all think, if we see the Hot Shot 2 or the Super Sabre, we'll coincide or collectively see the other. So four-wheel drive car. For its time, it was a decent car. It obviously you would need to ball race it. It comes plastic bushed with a 540 silver can, but typically the steering would develop slop after a few runs and potential for dog bones to fall out. So it was a car typical of its time period where you would build it up and potentially have to do some things to keep the car solid shortly afterwards. I've never built a Super Sabre before. Believe it or not, I've never built a Hot Shot before, or any of the Hot Shot family. So on this channel, I've got an original Hot Shot to build. I've got an original Super Sabre to build, an original Boomerang, and an original Big Wig. So this is the first out of, I think, 4 builds that I'm going to be doing on the channel of this family of car, and I can't wait. I've got a Boomerang behind me that people comment on all the time, right here, with the tires that are flared out because their chassis is like snapped. I've got all the parts to restore that Boomerang, but we're going to turn that one into a winger, and it's not going to be long. The decals just came in the other day, and I'm excited to do a winger. I've never done one. So we're going to see this chassis again fairly quick. But for today, it's going to be the Super Sabre. So let me bring the camera over. We'll take a look at the kit as it came in its presentation, and then we'll get into it. We'll get it cut up, get the blister packs cut up, and we'll start building this sucker. So now that I've got you up close, we'll start with the box art. So this box is in great condition. I've got 2 of these kits. One's going to stay new in box, just because it's one of those kits that had a nice presentation. Very futuristic body for its time period. I absolutely love it. A lot of people don't, for whatever reason. I think it's great. I love those space age chassis. So yeah, oval block tires, very simple, 4-wheel drive, right? It's the first 4-wheel drive gearbox Tamiya came out with ever. The Hot Shot was the first 4-wheel drive car they ever came out with, and this is part of that same kind of time period and family of cars. So as we look at it, we've got our chassis here on the box showing the gearbox with prop shaft. And then on the sides, we've got our front and rear. Dual shocks on the rear, monoshock on the front, but front stabilizer bar. So definitely a capable buggy. It just happened to be one that suffered with, some steering flaws once the car got a little bit loose. So it shows, for hop-up parts, it shows CVA shocks, so these must be friction. And then instead of the dual blocks, it shows the Advanti tires on there. The pin spike tire. And then, of course, the Technical motor. So, yeah. Very nice box art. This is one that came from Taiwan Kenny. I bought 2 Super Sabre kits from him. I think they were his last 2. So, when you open the kit, that's what you would have saw. You've got your body down below. Again, stapled to the an insert down at the bottom. just like the Terror Conqueror that Caleb built. You know, you got your decals and your red parts and your chassis, and it's all kind of stapled together in one pack. You've got your build manual underneath. Great pictures. It's a nice manual. Obviously it's in mint condition because it's the first time it's probably ever been out of the box. So yeah, I'm excited to build this. It's going to be fun. It does have oil shocks. I don't know why it's showing the CVAs as an upgrade. I mean, these are probably still CVAs, just red. And then you've got your dual block tires on this side with your white wheels, which are now cream. Maybe they came cream, I don't know. I would assume that they were white. The box shows them as silver. So I may actually try to paint these wheels and do them in like a chrome paint. See how that comes out. If not, I can always just put another set of cream or white ones on. So in the blister packs, we've got our mechanical speed control. We've got our RS540 motor, our bevel gears. We've got some of our ball connector hardware. We've got our prop shafts. Comes with a 13 tooth and a 15 tooth pinion, and then we've got our wheel axles, and we've got our gearbox outdrive cups, and then we've got all our parts trees on this side: bumper, arms, gearboxes. So that's not much more to show you there. The insert, probably shouldn't pull it out, but the insert has all kinds of cars on it down below. Of course, it's going to show. What does it show? Actually shows the Super Dragon, Porsche 959, the Lotus Honda 99T, the Celica GRB, Clodbuster, and then it shows a 12th scale, must be a model, motorcycle series models, and then it gets into military stuff. So yeah, just, you know, Tamiya back in the day. And on this side of the insert, if I pull the parts trees out, pull the hardware box out, it's got pictures of the Boomerang, the Fox, and the Hot Shot 2. So it was just cool how Tamiya, you know, this has never been opened. It's sealed on both sides. Tamiya would use any space they could to self-promote, right? So in here we've got our bushes. Throw that out. We've got our axles, our prop shaft, and it's that old style light duty prop shaft. And then all of our hardware bags, our shock oil, our gear set, our steering arms or cups, whatever, driver figure, our rear wing, and some more hardware. So I'm gonna get this thing laid out and into some tubs, and we'll get going on this build. Alright, so I've been kind of pecking away here. So step one was setting up the steering servo. So I did that real quick. Step two was the mechanical speed control, which I'm not using. Then you get into step 6, where you make one half of the gearbox and diff, rear gearbox. So that's your diff there, and then you've got your outdrive on the other side. So I got that done, and then 7 was building up the other side, which is your spur gear and your prop shaft cup, right? So you got your prop shaft cup there, spur gear, and then the other side of your diff. So we're at step 8 here, where we're gonna put this together. We have our first red part. There's a couple of spacers that gonna have to go in here at the same time. So that sits like that, and then let's see if I can get this right. Yeah. Knew that was gonna jump on me. And it's on the floor. Yeah. Sorry about the camera movement. See if I can get this thing back in. It goes this way. Before I bolt it up, we'll just check it. You can see the outdrive spinning. Get the grease worked around. And then it looks like there is 3 bolts, 3 screws that hold this together. The first one's got a nut on it, so we'll get that one started. Second one is up here. Is that right? Yep. That one's got a nut on it. That will at least hold it together until I can get the self-tapper in. And then the self-tapper goes here. Definitely a different style gearbox. I've been kind of looking forward to this gearbox and the motor setup with the 4 plates and the shims. I know it's a fiddly process, but just kind of intriguing to see this old design from like 1984. So yeah, I've been looking forward to getting my hands on this family of gearboxes. Now I know the first version of this gearbox was on the original Hot Shot, which would be the 3-hole bumper one. And then it changed for version 2. I don't know how much it changed, I just know it changed. So I have a 3-hole bumper that I need to take apart and clean, and I've got an original Hot Shot to build. So I'm thinking about doing them side by side just to see what the difference is. Yeah, so that gearbox feels good. It's a little bit noisy, but kind of is what it is. I know it's built right. So the next step is step 9, and we're going to start messing with getting the motor fitted right away. So we are going to mount the silver can in it that it comes with. It shows a spacer for the pinion. It comes with, I think it was a 13 tooth and a 15 tooth. 13 and 15. So we'll probably just throw the 15 in there just for the hell of it. They're aluminum pinions, they're not steel, but we're only going to run this car once. So I'm not really concerned about it. Kind of is what it is. So D5, so this should be our motor spacer here. And then, yeah, it's definitely appears to be a little bit of a fiddly process. So yeah, let me get this taken care of, and I'll bring you back when I've got something to show you. But I know this section is fiddly from watching other people build these cars, Hot Shots and what have you, with the 4 plates. So I'll actually show you in the manual real quick. So you can see it shows the motor going in here, and then it shows these 4 plates down here, and that helps to set your mesh based on your pinion. I know there's notes involved, but you can see here, so 15 tooth has the plates split 2 and 2, 13 tooth has them all stacked with 4 all in one shot. So yeah, getting those slid in and aligned to get your nuts and stuff on, I can tell is going to be a process. So let me get this motor installed, and then we're going to keep moving forward with the rear end here. Alright, I got it done. You can actually go with a 14 and a 16 tooth pinion as well. And it shows the spacing on those little spacers to set your mesh. So the motor is in, and D battery like always. We're going to check the gearbox before we put it in. Right? No grinding. Outdrive is spinning nice. Sounds good. Gets that grease worked around too. So the next step is putting the rear protection bars on, and then shock tower, and then we're going to get into starting to build arms. So I'm going to keep moving forward, and I'll bring you back as soon as I get something to show you. So steps 11 and 12 are done. The rear bumper, rear shock mount, and rear upper arms are on. Easy enough. Easy enough, but I had to do it twice to get it right. I love building new chassis. Like, it's new to me, right? So next up is rear uprights. That nostalgic red in the rear lower arms, and that's all going to pin together with bearings and the out drives, or the axles, wheel axles. And then it's going to be a matter of getting the cups in and getting the last of the pins in. So I'm going to get that done, and then we're going to move on to the front gearbox. Alright, so we finished up the rear end with the axles in it. Now, the Super Saber and the Boomerang, they're all known for having a lot of slop in the axle. Primarily in the front with the steering. It is what it is. I'm only running this thing once. So I've got the front gearbox. After doing that, it was getting the front gearbox assembled. I guess I can show you. I just need to move my hardware. I feel like I'm 10. I still line up all my hardware on my page. I'm sure you guys do the same thing. So it's just like the back. You do one side, get your outdrive cup in with your diff gear, and then you get your prop shaft setup done. And then you do the other side. The only difference is this gear doesn't have the spur on it for the motor, but everything else is identical. So now we're going to take the two halves and put them together. And the only thing that gets sandwiched on this is they call it a bumper stay, rear bumper stay. So it's got to go in a certain direction. It goes like this. And it looks like, or it's actually the front bumper stay, not the rear bumper stay. And you've got to get the orientation correct. I say that and then the thing falls right out because I don't have a screw in it, but we're going to get a screw in it right now. Now it's on the floor. Yep, diff's working good and the gears are working good. So we'll start with self-tapper there, self-tapper there, self-tapper there. So we'll screw those together. Get my bumper stay. I'm not a professional. I don't claim to be. So this one's getting a 3mm all the way through that mess with a nut. And we've got self-tapper on the bottom. And we've got 27 mil up here. It's been a fun build so far. I knew it would be. Whenever I build something new to me, I always have a blast. Diff feels great. If I turn them both the same direction, my outdrive spins nice and free. So that's the front gearbox assembled. So the next step is going to be starting to get the steering knuckles together, and they use these metal plates. So it uses one top and bottom, sandwiches it with these two plastic cams, and then it almost looks like pillow balls. And they probably are pillow balls. Yeah, they are. They snap in and they locate into the front arms. So these are the plastic pieces here. And then you get the pillow balls. And then you can see on the front arms, that's your locators there. So it kind of reminds me of the SRBs, to be completely honest, when I built the Ford Ranger that had pillow balls in the same spot. So let me get this assembled and I'll show you when I've got them attached to the lower arms. The front arms are done. You can see how this works with the pillow balls. So there's a pillow ball, it's all greased. The only thing I don't like about that setup is the grease is open, so it's going to get full of dirt, you know. But that's how it was set up. Oh, there goes my axle. Gotta pay attention. So yeah, both of them are exactly the same. Just opposite sides, obviously. So tons of flex. So now we're gonna get that attached with the axles to the front end. And then we start getting the chassis prepped. So right here, we get our axles in place, and then we've got our pins going in, and then we start prepping our chassis to bring it all together. So I'm gonna keep pushing. Alright, so I figured I'd bring you back. So I finished putting the front end onto the front gearbox, and you can, like I said, the front doesn't feel like it's got as much slop as the rear does. And then you got your L-shaped monoshock brackets in the front. Pillow ball, right? Everything's nice and loose. And then they had to start working on the chassis. So body mounts went in, and then the steering mechanism went in. And if you've never seen the steering mechanism, actually I got the servo in it now, but it's basically just a slider arm. And the servo has just a metal finger that sticks out of it. And then it had us made the steering arms themselves. So now this arm just slides right, and gives us our steering. So servo's in, so that'll be ready for when we go to run it. The next step is mounting the rear gearbox. So we're going to get that mounted up, and then we'll be moving to the front. 4 12mm screws. 1, 2, 3, 4. We get the rear one on here. Come on. I was excited to do the Super Saber first, just because it hasn't been reread and people probably haven't seen one get built for a while. And then again, I've never built this chassis before, so like I said at the beginning of the video, I'm going to rip the boomerang apart next. It's my next buggy to make it a winger. I've had some people in the comments continually be like, "Are you breaking my heart with that boomerang looking the way it is behind you?" And I get it. That car's been like that for a year since I bought it. And what's funny is when I bought it, that was going to be my boomerang. I bought it to restore it, and then I ended up sourcing 2 boomerang new in box kits. So then I was like, well, maybe I'll just restore it and give it away. And then, you know, the light bulb went off and said, well, make a winger out of it. And so I started trying to source an original winger body, and people want like $500. And it's like, it's like buying a kit, you know. All it is a body set. So I was like, you know what? I'm just going to order one from TBG and be done with it. So that's it. Rear gearbox is on, ready to go. So now it has us getting into building shocks, which I'm going to bypass. It wants me to put the front shock in before I put the front end on. I'm not going to do that though. Is there a reason why? No, there's no reason why. So I'm going to put, so 2 3x12s. It's more for you guys. So if I get this on, prop shaft, if I get this on, then I essentially have a car sitting here. And it's just a matter of doing the shocks. So So 2 screws holds the whole front end together is what this is telling me. Lovely. I'm sure the bumper has something to do with it, but that way I can just build all 3 shocks at one shot and just throw them on the car real quick. And in this segment you get to essentially see the chassis put together. We're 1 screw away. The rest of the chassis is held together by the bumper in the front. So we can actually hook up our steering. Take a look at how far off our wheels and tires are. Looks pretty straight to me. So yeah, that's our front end on, that's our rear end on, and it's finally starting to look like a car. So I'm gonna go back off camera now and get the shocks built. Get the front bumper on. I'll probably just put the shocks on, and then it's literally battery posts or battery brackets and the front sway bar. So I'm probably just going to wrap this thing up because there's really not much left to show you. And then it's wheels and tires. So I'll bring you back in just a second and we'll see where the car is at. Well, we've got a finished chassis. So the shocks were easy enough. They're just standard CVA style shocks. They obviously were oil filled. The box threw me off when I saw the yellow CVAs. I think the CVAs might be a little bit bigger in diameter, and that's why they consider them an upgrade, but they get built the same way. So the front end, we've got the front stabilizer on now. Front shock is in. Works great. Rear end, rear shocks are built and in. They work great. Nice and smooth. And then I put the wheels and tires together. Diffs feel great. Front's a little bit looser than the back for obvious reasons, the motor being back there. So yeah, everything feels good. Overall drive feels good. And it actually damps. Right? So it's ready for a body. I did put the battery tray in underneath. That wasn't done last time with the pin, the release pin. I set it up for my Tamiya style 2S batteries so that it would fit in there fine. These are adjustable obviously because it would have taken the 7.2 racing pack. So let me get the camera moved over for closing and we'll move on to the body work for part 2. So that's gonna do it for the chassis build of the Super Sabre. It was awesome. It was everything I hoped it would be, to be completely honest. And you know what? It was flawless. It went together flawless. I used a low profile servo. I didn't use a stock height servo. I've been using the JX low profiles because they're a little bit taller than a standard low profile, but the JX normal servos are taller than a normal or an old school servo, and they have a tendency to cause me problems. So I ended up doing it with just a low profile servo, and I'll tell you what, this thing feels great. Now obviously this was a hobby grade RC, and it's, you know, it feels fragile in the sense that the plastics are a little bit old. The shock tower definitely has a ton of flex in it. It's just kind of how it was designed. So we're going to be real careful with it when we run it. We're only running it once, and then it's going on the shelf. It's just the way my collection works. But yeah, just a cool setup with the pillow ball attachments in the front. But the car itself feels absolutely awesome. The diffs feel great. Everything feels great. So yeah, it was just a pleasure to build. Usually I'll take a chassis and build it up, and it takes me, you know, I don't know, 5 or 6 hours. And I took my time with this, and it still only took me like 4.5 hours, which I didn't think was bad. And I had a blast doing it. I didn't rush through it. The steering, everything is set up absolutely perfect straight off the manual. So yeah, I'm excited. So the next step's going to be getting the body done. Like I said, we'll definitely get the body itself done. I really want to get some tire writing on these because there's a lot of writing that you can do. I know the box doesn't show the tire writing, but I'll probably look at one of the guidebooks to see if the guidebook shows any writing. But I'm really thinking about painting these wheels silver. I got to see how the body comes out. I'm not even sure what box art color is. I don't know if it's PS12. But yeah, I'm looking forward to getting the body done and getting the detail work done. So that'll be part 2. So make sure you subscribe and turn your notifications on so you don't miss the second part of this. And then part 3, you know, we'll get it out for a quick little run. And that'll be it for the Super Sabre. We're going to move on to the battered boomerang behind me. We're going to get that one straightened out and turn that one into a winger. So yeah, I hope you liked the video. Leave me a comment. Let me know what you think of the Super Sabre. I know a lot of people didn't like the body. I think it looks great, but you know, let me know your thoughts on this family of cars and the Super Sabre in general. Is there anything I should know before I run it? Anything I should be wary of? But like I said, it'll be a light run anyway. So yeah. So look for part 2 where we do the body, and until then, we'll see you soon. Thanks.